Welcome back to The Angle, where multidimensional perspectives are revealed. And today, we're diving deep into the stories shaking the world. Iran strikes near Israeli nuclear facility, launches long-range missiles beyond the Middle East for first time. Israeli officials reported that Iranian forces have launched long-range missiles for the first time, raising the risk of attacks extending beyond the Middle East. An Iranian strike targeting an area not far from Israel's nuclear facility left dozens wounded. On March 21st, Iran fired 2 ballistic missiles with a range of 4,000 kilometers at the US-UK military base Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean, according to Israel's Chief of Staff Eyal Zamir. The Israeli military stated this marked the first time Iran has used long-range missiles in the current conflict, representing an expansion of attacks beyond the Middle East since the US and Israel began their air campaign on February 28th. Israel's secret nuclear reactor is located approximately 13 kilometers southeast of Dimona. Both cities are situated near several military facilities, including Nevatim Air Base, one of the country's largest. This has been a very difficult evening in the war for our future, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said in a statement following the attack on the Arad area. Ukraine working with Gulf states daily. On March 23rd, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said his country is working with Gulf states on a daily basis, while calling on other nations to contribute to stabilizing the situation in the Middle East, amid reports that Ukrainian military experts have been deployed to the region. We are working with the Gulf states, and in fact, we are in contact with these countries every day at the working group level. There have been concrete results from our defense units. We are providing expertise and practical support, he wrote on Platform X. He commented, other countries around the world should also now contribute to stabilizing the situation. Last week, President Zelensky announced that he had sent more than 200 military experts to the Gulf and the Middle East to assist governments in defending against Iranian drone attacks. EU holds phone call with Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi. According to Reuters, a European Union official stated that EU High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, Kaja Kallas, held a phone call with Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi on March 22nd. Kallas also held separate phone calls with her counterparts from Turkey, Qatar, and South Korea regarding the war in the Middle East, attacks on energy infrastructure, and the urgent need to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. President Putin, Russia will always stand by Iran. However, the only tangible outcome for the Russian military is mounting losses, with more than 8,000 Russian soldiers killed or seriously wounded in the past 7 days alone, according to Zelensky. AFP reported that it could not independently verify this figure. Earlier the same day, the Russian Defense Ministry stated that its forces had taken control of Potapivka, a small village near the Russian border in Ukraine's Sumy region to the north. Russian forces have spent months attempting to establish a buffer zone in the Sumy area. Global oil prices rise to $113 per barrel. According to AFP, global oil prices continued to climb in early trading on March 23rd after U.S. President Donald Trump issued a 48-hour ultimatum demanding Iran open the Strait of Hormuz, warning that failure to comply would result in the destruction of its energy infrastructure. Meanwhile, Israel warned that the war would continue for several more weeks. Shortly after markets opened, U.S. West Texas Intermediate (WTI) crude for May delivery rose 1.8% to over $100 per barrel before easing slightly. Brent crude for May delivery increased 1.7% to $113.44 per barrel before also pulling back. U.S. has plenty of money to fight Iran, despite military request for additional $200 billion. According to Reuters on March 22nd, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent declared that the U.S. government does not lack money to sustain military efforts against Iran, despite the Pentagon proposing that Congress approve a supplemental budget of up to $200 billion. In an interview with NBC, Bessent described the proposal as merely a supplemental budget to ensure the military is fully equipped for the future, while flatly rejecting the possibility of raising taxes to fund the war. We have plenty of money to fund this war. This is just a supplemental budget. Just as he is doing in his second term, President Trump built up the military during his first term. He wants to ensure the military is equipped and fully supplied for the future, the U.S. Treasury Secretary stated. U.S. warns of risk of citizens being targeted worldwide. The U.S. State Department has called on citizens around the world to increase vigilance due to the risk of being targeted by, quote, pro-Iranian groups. We recommend that Americans around the world, especially in the Middle East, heighten their vigilance, the State Department said in a security alert issued on March 22nd. The agency emphasized that, quote, periodic airspace closures, unquote, may occur in many places, disrupting travel plans. Several U.S. diplomatic facilities, including those outside the Middle East, have been targeted recently, demonstrating security risks to U.S. citizens, assets, and interests far from the conflict zone. Pro-Iranian groups could target U.S. interests abroad, or locations associated with the United States and/or Americans around the world, the State Department stated, urging citizens to continuously monitor security guidance from the nearest embassies and consulates. The State Department's travel advisory mechanism is typically applied to specific countries and uses a 4-level scale, with level 4 being the highest, advising citizens not to travel to the named country. Since the conflict erupted on February 28th, the State Department has placed most Middle Eastern countries at level 3, including Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, UAE, Jordan, Israel, and Oman. Cyprus, located just outside the Middle East, was also placed in the same category, with a recommendation that U.S. citizens reconsider travel. Travel warnings for Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, and Iran have been raised to level 4, while Egypt and Turkey remain at level 2, with a recommendation to, quote, exercise increased caution. And that's all the angle has for you today. The world keeps spinning, and we'll always be here, right by your side, through every angle. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next update. Take care.